Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the next session of the second day of the conference. I am pleased to welcome Dr. Saeed Al Dhaheri from the University of Dubai in UAE. Dr. Saeed is a futurist, thought leader, AI ethicist, and public keynote speaker. He has been in many positions, the founder and former Director General of the Emirates ID Authority, a former member of the Scientific Advisory Committee of the UAE Space Agency, and the former advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs on Information Technology. Currently, he is the director of the Center for Future Studies at the University of Dubai, a visiting lecturer at Oxford University, course Artificial Intelligence, Generative AI, Cloud and MLOps online, president of the UAE Robotics and Automation Society, RAS, a member of the Global Future Council of the World Economic Forum on Metaverse, a UNESCO co-chair and on anticipatory systems, and he is on industrial advisory boards of several universities in the UAE. Dr. Saeed also serves on the advisory boards of several international forums, including the World Ethical Data Innovation Data Foundation. Sorry. He is also a senior fellow of the AI 2030 Responsible AI for a Better World initiative. He co-authored the book Digital Nation: How the UAE is Building a Future Based on Tech Innovation. He has written several articles on and reports published in Harvard Business Review Arabia, MIT Technology Review Arabia, and Dubai Policy Review Journal. He has been invited to speak at international platforms, including the UN, the WEF, OPEC, and REAIM Summit. Very impressive bio, Dr. Saeed Al Dhaheri. So we're very pleased to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for the introduction.
Thank you. And today you will be talking to us about people before algorithms, building a trustworthy AI for a better future. Very interesting talk. Looking forward to hear you, Dr. Saeed Al Dhaheri. The floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I think there is some echo.
Uh,
I can hear echo in background. I tried to mute my mic, but when you were speaking, there was an echo, and when I'm speaking now as well, I can hear my echo.
I I don't hear it now, but maybe it's from
Okay.
my side. But I leave the stage to you, and
Okay.
there won't be any echo. Okay, the
I
floor is
hope so.
yours. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you for the introduction, Dr. Sandit. I am really very happy to be with you on this event, Morocco AI, the prestigious event happening in the Arab world and in the MENA region, META, region. Uh, my talk is going to be about this people before algorithms, building a trustworthy AI for a better future. I think I have been talking about this for the last maybe 5, 6 years about building trustworthy and responsible AI, as I feel we are not doing, let's say, so great in this endeavor to really bring responsible innovation that will benefit society and will not cause any harms, and the safe and responsible innovation. So let's go to the presentation. Uh, uh, I like to start really with this quote from Norbert Wiener. Norbert Wiener is a mathematician, computer scientist, and he was a child prodigy. He got his PhD at the age of 19 at mathematics from Harvard University. And this quote is really grasp the point that I want to emphasize in this presentation, that if we use to achieve our purposes a mechanical agency with whose operation we cannot interfere effectively, we had better be quite sure that the purpose put into the machine is the purpose which we really desire. And this concludes that if we want really to build a trustworthy and responsible AI, we better make sure that we translate those ethical principles that we value and put them into operation, and we put them into the development life cycle of AI from development to deployment. This way, we can ensure that we're building responsible innovation that address societal needs and at the same time address ethical and other risks and issues. If we look into the numbers, about the trust globally, in this Edelman Trust Barometer 2024, saying that 53% of the public globally trust AI, with concerns about privacy and potential harms to society. And in the US, this percentage is even less, 35%. And another study by PwC in their US Responsible AI survey found that 94% of executives acknowledge facing challenges in building trust with the stakeholder regarding AI. And another study by the Workday Global Survey of AI on AI Trust, the recent study in 2024, found that 52% of employees are confident that organizations will ensure AI is implemented in a responsible and trustworthy way. So clearly there is a gap in trust as AI innovation accelerates, trust in AI among the public and in AI companies is declining. And I think there is big role for leadership to play here in terms of building and deploying responsible and trustworthy AI. We look into the algorithms, are they really a progress and an improvement on a human system, or they are a pair? If we look today in where these algorithms are used in our life, they are hidden in every aspect of our life, from granting loans to bailing to sentencing to college placement, scoring exams, screening candidates, and you name it, to even driving cars, predicting crimes, where we invest, and diagnose medical images and suggest treatment plans, to searching the net, to booking flights, to translating documents. So definitely algorithms are becoming part of our lives, and they are in everywhere and every aspect of our life. They definitely bring benefits to society in terms of increasing efficiency, productivity, in terms of lowering cost and helping in decision making and accelerating innovation, but also they bring issues and risks, into the landscape. They can eliminate or amplify human bias. There are other legal and ethical concerns which I will highlight during this talk. So we ask the question, are they really an improvement on a human system they replace? And I think we need to look carefully how we develop this technology, for the benefit of humanity. If we look into the failures in the past, I think there are lessons, for leaders to be more responsible, to adopt a more responsible approach to AI development. Look at some of these findings. AI denied social security benefits to people with disabilities. Amazon scrapped secret AI recruiting tool that showed bias against women. We see now a lot of court cases about copyright infringement. Look at this case where the algorithms has really impacted many people around the world. And during COVID in 2022, when the IB exam were canceled because the students cannot go and do the test physical, so they decided to use a formula, an algorithm, to give a score for students. And more than 25,000 students globally affected by this algorithm. And it was kind of a scandal. So this was, showing in this article from Harvard Business Review what happens when AI is used to set grades. And the Wired magazine also spoke about it, Meet the Secret Algorithm that keeps the students out of college. Do we really want to keep students out of college, or we really want them to study? So I think there are lessons that we learned from these failures, and this what really gives me the passion to promote and advocate the development and deployment of responsible AI. And as we move from analytical AI to generative AI at this stage, to the future of AI agents or agentic AI, the risks are increasing. Look, for example, are we moving from analytical, the bias that we inherited in the data and in the models, the data privacy, the transparency. And as we move into the generative AI, new risks are coming out, the misinformation and hallucination, transparency and copyright infringement. And as we move to agentic AI, the loss of human agency in decision making. Now we allow AI to reason, to plan, and to take actions on human behalf. And this increases the risk vector and the threats that going to face society and might cause harm. So definitely, I think there is a growing necessity for responsible and trustworthy AI. If we look into the number of incidents from 2012 to 2023 as per the AI incident database that was reported in the AI index from the Stanford University, the latest one in 2024, the number of AI incidents continue to rise. AI incidents have grown by over 20 times since 2013. And I believe the number is going to grow and grow more as we develop this technology and we deploy it irresponsibly, to society. So with these new capabilities, there are risks that we face. Some of this is, of course, safety and generating harmful content. How we can ensure that now generative AI models, large language models, they are safe and they work as intended. Look at the recent incident by someone who used the Google AI chatbot Gemini, responded with a threatening message: "Human, please die." And there are many cases that we hear every day on people when interacting with these large language models, even though with the implemented safeguards in those large language models, but because of these models are stochastic models, they can generate any output at any given time. And if we don't build safe guardrails, effective safe guardrails, I think we're going to see more and more of these. Another incident, for example, happened when the New York City deployed a chatbot for the public, so that the public can interact with the chatbot and ask about some of the legal advices, and the chatbot started telling business owners to break the law. This happened in October 2023, when New York, when the New York City mayor launched the My City chatbot with Microsoft that is powered by Azure. So we're looking into the bias. We're looking into misinformation and hallucination, and to lack of transparency. We don't understand how these models are working. Yes, there are tools now becoming more available and mature for explainable AI, for interpretable AI, and we're trying to understand how these models reach into a conclusion. Another risk is the privacy and data protection. And I think now big tech companies are going to face a lot of pressure when they are going to operate in the European Union after the enactment of the European Union AI Act, which was endorsed this year, and it's going to take maybe another 2 years for applicability, and then we will find that the big tech companies need to comply with many of the articles in this AI Act, including the transparency. They need to be transparent about how they train their models, about the data they use to train their models, and so forth. Another risk is about intellectual property and copyright infringement, as we see now many cases happening around the world, in the US and in the Europe, where these models have been trained on individuals' copyrighted materials, whether it's books or articles or whatsoever, without getting the consent of people. And then we're starting to see these companies are facing some legal actions, in the court. Another risk is, of course, the security and robustness, how robust and secure these models. Now, with someone who has a good background in prompt engineering can attack these models with a prompt injection attack. So the risk, Victor, and the risk and the threats are real a serious concern for AI, and we need to build a trustworthy and responsible models that probably can mitigate these risks. So responsible AI is about building a culture of accountability, transparency, and trust. It's about addressing the risks and the benefits of AI solutions in a consistent, transparent, and accountable manner. It's about establishing also a culture of trust, and that is important: transparency, accountability internally within the tech company, so they can reflect this effectively and spread these values, externally. It's a maturity journey. We cannot expect that this is going to happen in a day or so, or in a year. It's going to take some time as we try to build expertise, tools, resources, talents that can take these principles, ethical principles, and really translate them into the practical design when it comes to the development, which we call it ethics by design and responsible AI by design. And of course, this will need responsible leadership. And really, I like this quote from Gartner, where they emphasize that organizations need an active and vocal data ethics leader at the helm with authority to drive ethical standards. I think we are not in short of adopting ethical frameworks or ethical principles. At least there is an agreement globally from the UNESCO, where more than 193 countries have adopted the UNESCO recommendations on AI ethics. And these, of course, goes into the principles of safety and security, fairness and discrimination, the sustainability, human oversight, the transparency and explainability, the responsibility and accountability, the awareness and literacy. But more than that, also, the UNESCO have put policies for how to really realize these principles in AI models. So I think there is at least an agreement globally on a framework that big tech companies and countries can adopt and use to develop and deploy AI responsibly. Building trust is important. And how we build trust is by ensuring proactive accountability in the AI life cycle development. We need to prioritize liability over licensing. We need to prioritize fairness and ethics and ensure proactive corporate accountability. Trust would require transparency on training data and the methodology used to develop the model, explainability, how models arrive at their recommendations, adherence to ethical principles, honesty and uncertainty. We need to be honest and uncertain about the limitations of the model, where the model can be used and where the model cannot be used. And we need to have clear communications, about the development of the model, about the limitations of the model, and provide a lineage card, to the public to understand, how the model can be used effectively. We speak about how we operationalize responsible AI. And there are very few organizations who operationalize their AI ethics at scale for reasons, either because of lack of regulatory urgency. There is no regulations and urgent, needs for compliance, or because of lack of benchmark. Also, there are no standardized benchmarks where we can really measure how we assess the performance of these models against compliance. So building capacity for responsible AI governance is important, and we need to adopt ethics by design and responsible AI by design from the beginning and the development life cycle of AI development. We need to define AI ethics principles and implement them in a responsible product development, translate those principles into effective governance, and we use technical tools that are now becoming more available from Microsoft and from IBM and from other tech vendors to assess the fairness and the bias in these models, and establish AI ethics team and engage with the stakeholders to have a diversified views about and listening to everyone, within the organization and all the stakeholders, so we can have a diversified perspective on the development of responsible AI. And of course, adopting global standards, whether we're talking about NIST, responsible risk management framework, or IEEE or ISO standards. These standards are becoming now mature, and the big tech companies need at least to adopt these standards that will also bring the trust and bring quality in the development of their model. We need to define clear lines of accountability and equip teams with the knowledge and tools, providing training on AI ethics and interpretability and responsible practices, and also partner with the industry and NGOs to stay ahead of emerging responsible AI challenges and solutions. And like I said, we need to adopt more holistic performance metrics, define metrics for responsible AI and how we can, assess the performance of the models against the AI principles. For example, the fairness, the transparency, the explainability, that we want to build into these models. And I think more important is about establishing a responsible AI culture. And this is supposed to be a CEO-led, or at least a leader in the organization need to adopt this, with communicating clearly about the principles and training the skilling staff on responsible AI practices, and incentivize the teams that prioritize responsible AI. And those leaders need to lead by example. They need to be publicly committed and pledged to responsible AI practices and participating in global dialogue and sharing successful examples. This is a model for Singapore as being a role model and a pioneer in AI, in responsible AI development. Singapore is one of the top 5 countries in the world in AI, along with the US, China, UK, Singapore, and other countries, as here the latest BCG, Boston Consulting Group, AI maturity index. Singapore have implemented several policies, for responsible AI, including the Model AI governance framework, which is guiding companies in the ethical use of AI. And they have also established a foundation called AI Verify Foundation, and as an AI governance testing framework and software toolkit that helps industry to be more transparent about their AI, to build trust among the public. They have trained more than 230,000 since 2016 through the Tech Accelerator program. And they have implemented an AI apprenticeship program to train Singaporean tech workers on real-world AI projects. So we need to learn from those leading countries who really prioritize the responsible development of AI, and how we can bring this practice globally, in government, but also in the tech industry and the tech companies. When we look into the regulations, I think we see emerging regulations coming, and we're going to see more and more of these regulations coming in the future as the world now understand the importance of AI governance, how we responsibly, bring a good governance to AI through the United Nations Advisory Board to the General Secretary, which in their report have indicated that one of the recommendations is to establish an AI office within the United Nations, and to establish also a scientific panel on AI that looks at the governance and collaborate with governments around the world to bring really a good governance into this. But also we see that the European Union AI Act, which I have mentioned earlier, which have been endorsed this year, and it's going to take probably another 2 years for general applicability, and have identified the AI through a risk-based approach, through an acceptable risk, high risk, medium risk, and minimum risk, and have categorized the use cases accordingly. And I think this is going to put some pressure and on companies, as we see it happening at the moment, with many of US companies are started to complain about the European Union AI Act, that it stifles innovation and so forth. I don't think that having regulation is really stifling innovation if we bring innovative regulations and in a balanced approach between innovation and between putting accountability and enforcement of regulation. I think we need to strike a balance in this. We see also in the US the Biden administration executive order that came in last year. China also have implemented some kind of regulations for their large language models that emphasizing a mandatory assessment for licensing AI systems and so forth. I think that slowly within the next maybe 3 to 5 years, we are going to see more regulations coming from other countries in the world. Japan, the UK approach to regulation is a lightweight. They are going after what's called sector-specific regulation. So, for example, a regulation for AI in healthcare, a regulation for AI in financial services, and so forth. I want to really conclude my presentation with this quote, which I found it really inspiring, from Abid Naskar. Abid Naskar is a neuroscientist, and he's one of the great promoter for responsible AI, where he says that artificial intelligence will not destroy the world. Our irresponsibility will destroy the world. With this, I conclude my presentation. I think I am within the time. It's 29 minutes now, so we still have some time for Q&A.
Thank you, Dr. Saeed Al Dhaheri. This was a very interesting talk. Very interesting to shed light on trustworthy AI, because now we talk more about LLMs, about big algorithms, architectures, models, etc. But the trustworthy part of AI is unfortunately a little bit left behind. So thank you for
Right.
shedding the light on
My
on
pleasure.
this.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
My
so we'll start the okay. I hear now the echo, so maybe it's from your side, but it's okay. We can still hear you clearly. If it doesn't bother you, we can continue the Q&A session this way.
It doesn't bother me, but it's been there since I started talking actually, and
Oh,
it's
oh,
lagging a
that's too
little
good.
bit, but I managed to to do my presentation. But
Oh
anyhow,
yeah.
I think we can proceed with the Q&A.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So yeah, we'll start the questions. So yeah, you presented in your talk that intellectual property is very important, and that in many cases, big companies build their models based on content that is copyrighted, but
Yes,
they don't get any permission to use it.
you're
So I
right.
have a question in the same sense, but some kind of different. It's more
Right.
related to transparency in AI. So, how do you think we can ensure transparency in AI systems without compromising the intellectual property rights of developers?
It's a good question. Thank you, Dr. Sindus, for bringing this. And there has been many cases actually, and the latest court case happened in the U.S. where unfortunately that some content writers have raised a complaint against OpenAI that trained their large language models without getting their consent. And they were asking for compensation and so forth. And unfortunately, they have lost their case because they could not show to the judge where the copyright infringement, and so their case was not strong to convince the judge that there were any violation of copyright infringement. I think this is been handled also in the European Union AI Act, one of the clauses where it says that the AI companies now need to be transparent about the data that they have used to train their AI model. And they have to mention this. Is this data copyrighted? Is this data publicly available? As we know that, OpenAI and also other companies, Google, or you name them, they rely on internet scraping and getting most of these data from the internet, and we started to see now how data becomes so important to companies that they started negotiating with big tech such as OpenAI and Microsoft and Google, to sell their data so that these companies they can train their models on this data. I think being transparent is going to be important. Having some kind of metric to really look into the transparency and having disclosure, from the companies that we have built our model according to so and so. The training data that we have used is so and so. I think this brings more transparency and also more, I think, trust from the public side when I understand, about how transparent the company into the development. This gives me some kind of assurance, at least, about the data that used, and also gives me an indication how I can interact with these models.
Yes, yes, I totally agree with you. That helps in the humans' trust in the model they're using. After all, we can see now that we have many, as you said in your talk, many models that are incorporated in our daily life that we use without even thinking. So if we have these metrics about transparency, as you said, we can have much more trust in the models that we're using in our everyday life.
And the
So
assessment that was done actually by the Stanford Human Centered AI Center, and They have written this in their report. They have used a benchmark to test for all models that are available, up to 2023 or maybe beginning of 2024. And they found that most of these models are not transparent when it comes to transparency measures. And this is an indicator now, to the big tech companies that they need to take this seriously, if we want really to win the customers and to have a trusted to have a trust in their model by the customer. Because I think the future is going to create a competition among companies, those big tech who are really take the extra mile to test their models and to ensure that their models are safe, to ensure that models are trustworthy, to adopt maybe benchmarks, in development of these models. I think those are going to win the customer.
Yeah, funny that you mentioned that, because my next question was, in what ways can prioritizing people over algorithms be a competitive advantage for organizations in the long term? So I guess you answered partly the question, but maybe you
Thank
can
you.
elaborate more.
Yes, definitely. It's about like when we. Why did I choose this title? Really, people before algorithm. I think we need to be more human centered. Emphasizing this, that it's a more human-centered approach, the more human-centered approach would require establishing trust, would require establishing a social license with the public, between the big companies and the social trust, and taking, extra measures to make sure that these models are safe, these models are secure, these models are robust. And I can understand at the moment there is a competition really among the big tech companies who bring these models first, as we see it happening on a daily basis. Now, we hear that OpenAI soon, during the next maybe 10, 15 days, are planning to announce many new models that will be released, before the end of the year. And
Yes.
yesterday Amazon, they came up with Nova, a new 4 or 5 models. So there is a competition happening, and I like what Demis Hassabis says, and I really applaud him for what he said, that when he was asked, can we move fast and break things? The slogan, the thinking that is happening in Silicon Valley at the moment is that let's move fast, and we will break things, but we are creating wonderful innovations. Yes, we are creating wonderful innovations, but when it comes to AI, I don't think the approach that we move fast and break things is the approach we need to adopt.
Yes, yes. I agree again with you. Very interesting thoughts there. Um, Maybe we can talk a little bit more about inclusivity. Um, most of the big models that we see come from the US, okay, from America, from Europe, and we don't see a lot, much models coming from Arab countries. Now we see like maybe Falcon from the
Yes,
UAE,
yes,
some
from the
other,
UAE, right? Jace,
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So my question is, how can AI systems be designed to better include and represent marginalized or underrepresented groups?
Again, I really enjoy this conversation because you're really highlighting some very good points, which are still in debate and dialogue. We are talking about the digital divide have been there since the internet. And now we're looking into the AI divide as we see countries with capabilities like the Western countries, let's say, the US, China and other countries have the capabilities, while there are some countries which until now, half of the world population, they don't have internet access. So are we really making this gap wider, or are we shrinking the gap? I think there are some good, examples that I can bring. Of course, UAE is being leading now in AI. We have a capability. Yes, we built the talent. We have Mohammed bin Zayed University of AI. We have research centers that we brought, the best researchers from the world to really work and develop these large language models, which compete, with the open source models, such as Llama and so forth, with the Falcon, 180 billion parameters, with Jace, again, Jace named after the mountain of Jebel Jace in Ras Al Khaimah, but it's for Arabic language, natural language processing. So we're developing models now for cultural specific, for Arabic specific, that will cater for the Arabic needs. UAE is also being leading in terms of spreading this technology globally. During the visit of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, the President of the UAE, the late visit to the US and meeting with Joe Biden just before the election, they stressed the fact that UAE and US are going to work on some projects where they build capabilities in African countries such as Kenya and other countries in terms of building data centers that probably will create more jobs, for the people. But also UAE, at least in the last year, during this year, have brought large language models for other countries. We have developed a large language model for India.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
now during COP29, we are announced a large language model for agriculture. That a model that is found tuned for agriculture to benefit millions of people around the world, on agriculture. So they can ask any questions about, the crops and so forth, and the model will be able to answer them in a reliable way, and promoting, climate change adaptation, and of course, how we can maybe fight climate change through agriculture and so forth. So we're trying to do because our leadership, we really believe that this technology needs to be developed and need to benefit, all over the world. I am lucky to speak about that being part of the government experience in under the Prime Minister office here in the UAE, that we spreading the know-how, educating other countries, that bringing future thinking, to other countries to elevate their status when it comes to the knowledge economy and when it comes to the digital transformation and so forth. And I conducted many training workshops to Senegal, to Mozambique, to Ethiopia. Last week was Ethiopian delegate, Brunei, Seychelles, Maldives, you name them, many African countries and countries in Asia and around the world, and also in Costa Rica and Latin America.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. But yeah, amazing. And that leads me to my next question. So from everything that you have said, from your experience in these governmental related positions, such as you being a former advisor for the Minister of Foreign Affairs on information technology, and also maybe from your writing experience since you wrote the book, The Digital Nation. So my question is, what ideas from the UAE's approach to can be applied to Morocco so that it can also build its future on tech innovation?
Good question, and thank you for highlighting this. I think Morocco, of course, is one of the developed countries, and in many ways, we look into the industries that are happening in Morocco, whether it's car industry, car manufacturing, and aviation industry, manufacturing spare parts, for airlines and so forth. But now Morocco is also coming, on AI strong. I'm really very proud to see Moroccan talents, all over the world. And I think today the people who mostly participating in this conference are really Moroccans who are really working in either in Google or Microsoft or other companies around the world So when it comes to talent, I think we have a talent in the Arab world, and especially in Morocco. And I'm not sure if Morocco has announced an AI strategy, but I think one of the things is that to really announce an AI strategy, what the Morocco aspires to achieve with the AI, this is one thing, but also emphasize the importance of strategic foresight. And this is what has helped really UAE since the launch of the UAE strategic foresight strategy in 2016, where I am engaged on a daily basis to train UAE workforce on foresight to try to look into the future, to have a future thinking in the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, where Morocco wants to be in the African continent, not just only in Africa, but also globally. So the UAE, for example, we have the Centennial Plan 2071. For the next 50 years, the UAE has put an inspiring vision for the UAE to be among the leading countries in the world when it comes to having the best education system in the world, the best healthcare system in the world. And I think a strategic foresight, anticipating the future and looking where Morocco wants to be in the next probably 30 years is what's going to help Morocco to build really the talent and look into the opportunities, the future opportunities and the challenges that Morocco wants to face.
Yes, surely. Thank you. I have a last question about responsible AI to link it to the quote that you mentioned, that you finished your talk with.
Yes.
Just that I remember, I don't remember if it was a paper or an article, but there was like a model that was trained on a game, and the objective was to have the most points in a limited time frame. And
Okay.
it was, I guess it was kind of a reinforcement learning model, but at the end, the developers learned that the model was able to change the code in order to have more time, in order to score more points. So that's funny, but
Yes.
when we think about responsible AI, and if this power is given to models, how might the concept of responsible AI evolve as AI systems become more autonomous and integrated into critical
Yes.
decision-making processes?
Yes, that's very important. Again, very important question. As we go into more autonomy now with the agentic now, the talk of the town is agentic workflows and what we do with the AI agents. And we're starting now Anthropic and OpenAI are releasing models that can use your computer screen and they can go and negotiate on your behalf, book you a ticket or order for you, a meal from somewhere. They can negotiate this price. And all this happens autonomously. So as the models become more capable of reasoning and planning and taking action, then these models become more autonomous. And what happens now when these models become autonomous and we delegate decisions, to these models? I think this is an area where we need to really and collectively work on having a proper governance, because, and it shows, with one of the models, for example, called Chaos GBT. That was an experiment happened in 2023, I think early in 2023, where the model is trying to achieve an objective function. And if you give it a bad objective function and you tell the model, go kill the world, will the model be able, to develop the reasoning and the capacity to really plan to kill the world? It showed that, through a very simple experiment, when you allow these things to self-learn, and now as we approaching to artificial general intelligence, where AI will be able and capable of doing any task that a human being can do, I think this brings a lot of questions and a lot of concerns, to us, how we can develop this technology responsibly and make sure that at the end they adhere to our values, they adhere to the human agency, to human supervision, probably, or even if we try to a little bit lose our supervision on autonomy, but we want to make sure that these models will not derail and cause any harm to the society or in a way or another. And many scientists are really warning about this. If you followed the latest interview with Google former Eric Schmidt, when he was interviewed, he was talking about really there is a risk in when it comes to to the recursive self-learning capabilities of these models in the future, being able to reason, to plan, and to take action autonomously. Will we be able to control them? I think this is a question I cannot really answer it. It will require probably a lot of debate and many people to argue about how we can put a proper governance for these models.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so I have a last request from you. It's more becoming like a tradition here at the Morocco AI conference, is if you can give us a few words in Arabic, if you please دكتور سعيد الظاهري، يعني إذا ممكن تعطينا فكرة الأساسية أو فقط يعني كلمة للجمهور أو لمجتمع موروكو AI.
جميل جميل. يعني الذي يحضرني الآن واستطيع أقوله أننا يعني في تطور سريع، والعالم يشهد هذا التطور ونعيشه لحظة بلحظة، وهناك كثير من حالات عدم اليقين الانسرتينتي، ولكن نحن دائما متفائلين الحمد لله. ديننا يعني يشجعنا على أن نكون متفائلين بالعلم وبالتكنولوجيا، ولكن في نفس الوقت مع هذا التفاؤل يجب أن يكون الأخذ بالمحاذير. الأخذ بالمحاذير مهم. مسألة تثقيف الجمهور والمجتمع في عالمنا العربي وفي عالمنا الإسلامي عن هذه التقنية مهم، حتى يفهم الجميع إمكانيات هذه التقنية، حدود هذه التقنية، وكيف ممكن نستخدمها بشكل فاعل حتى تساعدنا في أداء أعمالنا بسهولة وبسرعة وبكفاءة وبإنتاجية، ومن غير ما تؤثر على وظائفنا. لأن هناك تخوف الآن عن مسألة أن الذكاء الاصطناعي سيأخذ العديد من الوظائف، ولكن إذا نحن حاولنا أن نكون متعلمين نتقمص مبدأ التعلم مدى الحياة ونواكب هذه التقنية ونعرف حدودها وإمكانياتها ونستخدمها بشكل فاعل ونبني المهارات التي نحتاجها حتى نتعامل مع هذه التقنية، أعتقد راح نكون في المقدمة إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله إن شاء الله. شكرا جزيلا. Thank you very much, Dr. Saeed Al Dhaheri. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. From my side, I really enjoyed it. I hope also the audience did. And thank you again for accepting our invitation and for being with us here today. We hope maybe to invite you in other activities of Morocco AI. We will be happy to have you.
Yes, I would love
Thank
so.
you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Sanders,
you
and
so
thanks
much.
for that. Yes, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. So for the audience, please stay tuned with the upcoming talks, and see you.